Good morning. Raise your hand if you're feeling a little beleaguered about national events right now. Everybody look around. Okay. Look at that. Okay. Well, these are your people. Together, we can gather to form what Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. called the beloved community. The beloved community knows that an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere, and seeks to use the principles of nonviolence and civil disobedience when needed to achieve its aim of greater love and wholeness for the human being. But in order for us to recommit to this beloved community, I want to lift up some of our common pain a little and explore the freedom music tradition, passed down from our brothers and sisters who survived one of the most terrible injustices in the history of humanity, chattel slavery in the United States. So with your forbearance, let us look beneath the Band-Aid. Your leaders and I have spent much of last week the truly lovely work of wrapping our heads around how we might best protect our church from ICE raids. Thank you, dumpster fire. We appreciate that. Just so you know, we're concerned that many of our food pantry and thrift store clients will feel unsafe after the recent rule change for ICE and the executive order unconstitutionally challenging the 14th Amendment, which guarantees birthright citizenship. Instead of getting the valuable resources we provide, they will hide. We are concerned that anyone for whom English is their second language, for whom might appear to be an immigrant, will be rounded up and sent to a deportation center if they're not able to prove their citizenship on the spot. And we know they will because that happened all the time under the first Trump administration. We have printed up Know Your Rights cards and leaflets in many languages to help educate people. We are also studying what the Quakers are doing. I mean, really studying. On top of this, anyone who receives federal assistance, or here or abroad, has to worry whether or not funds will be frozen. When I was in theological school and was raising a family, I depended on some of those benefits, and we depended on them so much, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have been able to finish my Master's of Divinity without them. And if I need them, and I needed them at that time, a poor working student family, what about an Ethiopian refugee in a squalid camp 1 meal away from starvation? When you need federal assistance, you need it. If you are interested in what we might be doing on this level, make sure you check out the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. They have a lot of wonderful things right now going on. Their website is terrific. The rights of trans and intersex people, what about that? What about reproductive freedom? What about that? An executive order defining gender as exclusively male or female and opening the door to trans discrimination in the job force is a terrible blow to our society. This administration has encouraged harassment of abortion providers by pardoning those who have been arrested for egregious offenses, and limiting the prosecution of future harassers. Murray members, unite. We got our work cut out for us. As I mentioned last week, the livelihood of any federal employee who ever thought that diversity training, might be helpful to counteract known and demonstrated racial, gender, or orientation bias is on the line. In fact, if any federal employee hasn't received a Trump revelation, they better resign. It's such a gross violation of labor laws that it borders on idolatry. Revelation? Are you kidding me? Murray members, we have our work cut out for us. Well, that's a lot of things to be concerned about. There's a lot of things. There's a lot underneath the Band-Aid, right? But however much we might feel beleaguered right now as a nation, that's nothing compared to what the vast numbers of folk all over this country had to go through with the institution of slavery. If people survived the brutal Atlantic crossing that killed 10 to 20% of all Africans, what they were subjected to when they reached this country scourges the soul. The separation of families, the systematic rape, the brutal beatings, the death camp conditions of much of the labor they were subjected to, the continued buying and selling of subsequent generations of Africans in this country brought here against their will is horrible to consider. Let us not forget the true history of our nation. Let us not forget that this is not the first time that people have sought to crush the rights and dignity of the human being. And so now we turn to the freedom music for those freedom was utterly stripped. Slave owners who wielded ultimate power hoped to kill music and faith and reduce people into robots. But they could not. No matter what they did, they could not. No matter how many were killed, no matter how many were maimed, no matter how many were brutalized, they could not kill the human spirit. Instead, the music they sang united people who spoke many different languages, brought from many different West African and Central African communities. And it gave hope. The testimony provided by the white woman and her friends as they attended an African American religious service just after the Civil War demonstrates how overwhelmingly powerful it was. That power continued to shape our nation as this music survived and led to different forms of African American music. It made its way into all of our souls. Janie, thank you for your testimony this morning. It has marked us all with what Barbara Holmes calls the joy unspeakable, a joy unbreakable, a love undeniable. Today we turn, today we rest. We who labor under tyrant wannabes shall stand under the spiritual and emotional power of those who hoped, even though there was no hope. Those who loved, even though love was sundered. Those who helped, even one another, even when the powerful were killing them as fast as they could. In Black History Month, we with white skin here turn to this tradition not to appropriate it, but to be inspired by it and to learn from it. We need inspiration right now. No matter if we are black or white or Latinx, no matter our love persuasion, our gender identity in this sanctuary, we are under a lot of stress. We have so much work, but let us be reminded, as mindfulness teachers teach us, that stress is like wind. And if you're a sailor, you adjust your sails and you can sail. You can sail fast. So we need this hope and we need this wholeness. And it's nice to know that some things cannot be taken. Sometimes it's nice to remember that no matter what happens, we will be singing together, we will be hoping together, and we will be dreaming together. Yes, this is a safe space for us to speak our minds. These dulcet tones shall counteract that grinding sound out there, those dismaying things that are happening. And from this safe space, we will respond with the clarity of a Jedi. We shall respond with the mindfulness of a master. We shall respond with the steadfastness of saints. Why? Because we're inspired. Why? Because others have gone before us. Now it's our turn to do what is prudent. Now it's our turn to do what is necessary. To love and serve those who are most vulnerable. Let us claim our space. Let us celebrate our freedom music, and may the joy of it ring out beyond these walls. Blessed be, everybody. Blessed be. Blessed be. In this church, we are equals. In this church, we come together in generosity to support the good work of what we do together. Thank you.